Yay!
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I must apologise that I don't speak Danish. My name is Ruaidhri McAuliffe. I come from Dublin in Ireland.
I love Dublin.
Good, I like it too. It's a good place. And I must thank Jürgen and Brugge Vereniging for the invitation today to be your international speaker at this commemorative event. It's a great honour for me to come here to Copenhagen and to speak as part of your event. I'll tell you a little bit about Dublin and what we do there. I work for a drug user organisation in Dublin, in Ireland, and we want to try and improve attitudes towards people who use all drugs and to improve services for people who use drugs. And an important thing when looking at services for drug users is about human rights, because under the law in Ireland now, services, all health services, need to be human rights compliant.
Exactly.
They need to conform to human rights and respect people's human rights. So there's a big gap in Ireland for treatment, for substitution treatment. In Dublin the situation is not bad, but outside Dublin there's a lot of waiting lists just to get substitution treatment. We want more choice of treatment. In Ireland we only have methadone. We have a small suboxone pilot, not buprenorphine, but buprenorphine and naloxone. We would like to see buprenorphine as well and other treatment options, because that's about respecting people's human rights. It was also very good for me to come here and see the consumption rooms in Copenhagen, because this is something that we are considering to do in Dublin. There's a lot of support for the idea from the Minister for Drugs, supports the idea. The Lord Mayor of Dublin supports the idea. Of course we do. The families of drug users support the idea. The communities of people most affected by drug issues support the idea as well. So there is a momentum for these types of things to happen. The essential substitution treatment, consumption rooms and naloxone are very important, and we have just begun naloxone in Ireland as well after a long wait. As we're talking about drug-related deaths, I'll just tell you a little bit about the deaths in Ireland, some of the statistics we have. Ireland is a country is similar to Denmark in population and in size. In 2012, which is the last year we have proper statistics for, there was 350 people died from poisoning, so from drugs of one sort or another, but usually it's a combination of drugs. It's benzodiazepines and alcohol and methadone and a mixture. It's very rare that it's just one drug. Alcohol accounts for 36% of those poisonings, and I know in Denmark, like Ireland and a lot of other European countries, we like our alcohol. But we also need to look at it rationally. And in Ireland at the moment, we've incorporated alcohol into the drug policy. But I hoped by doing that people would look at drugs more rationally, because hey, everyone drinks alcohol, so let's look at drugs more rationally. Let's look at things like consumption rooms, because they have bars for alcohol. But unfortunately, bringing alcohol into the equation has meant that they just think alcohol, there's a lot of puritanical stuff around alcohol as well, and it's maybe not so rational. Because I like a drink as well, you know. What is concerning about the drug-related deaths in Ireland, I think, of course, one is one too many, but we also record deaths of people who are known to be drug users but may not die from taking drugs. They could die from diseases related to taking drugs, or from what they call a trauma. And 138 people died of such a trauma, 138 drug users in 2012 died of trauma. 72 of those were by hanging. People hung themselves.
Really?
Yes, it's really, really sad. And 20 people by drowning, whether they throw themselves into the river or by accident or on purpose, they drowned. But hanging is usually on purpose, and that's very sad. You know, that people have a despair and they don't want to live anymore, and I think that's a result of people being pushed outside of society, that their humanity isn't respected, that it's taken away from them, and that's sometimes a product of the war on drugs. You deny people their humanity. You say these people aren't really human beings. They're not human beings until they stop taking drugs, and that's just not right, because human rights apply across to every human being, whether they take drugs or not, and we should never lose sight of that. I don't want to speak for too long, but I just talk a little bit about looking at good practice. I think Copenhagen has some really good services for drug users, and I think there's a lot we can learn from each other. But I think cultures are very different as well, and you need different responses in different cities. But once you respect human rights, it doesn't mean that everything has to be the same everywhere. Respect for human rights means that you respect difference and you respect different approaches, as long as they respect the human rights of individuals. That's so important. Yeah. And with more respect for human rights, more inclusion of drug users, you will get less drug users being driven to despair for whatever reason, maybe over drug-related deaths sometimes. I mean, people owe money for drugs. They've used the drugs and they can't pay the money that they were supposed to sell the drugs, and they use them, and people live in fear. And that's because of the war on drugs as well. You know, it has a lot of casualties in my country and in your country. So I think I've finished there. I just wanted to say again how delighted I am to be here, to see Copenhagen for the first time, to visit the services, to see things like the consumption room and these places where drug users can go freely and do what they need to do. I was also impressed by the fact that there wasn't so many cameras all around the city, because I think sometimes there's a tendency to provide a place for the drug users to go so that they can be monitored by cameras, and it's another form of control. And I think that it's more respectful to have a situation here like that. So I commend people in Copenhagen and in Denmark for the respect that they've shown to their drug users. Of course, everywhere things can be improved. You have people in this country that die from drugs, and it's never necessary. So hopefully together, through whatever mechanisms, through international dialogue, it's great. Irish Drug User Organisation can be here with the Danish Drug User Organisation, and we have Arild from the Norwegian Drug User Organisation. Well, it's a campaign for humanitarian narco-politics.
Humane drug policy.
Humane drug policy, which is really what it's all about. Policies are nothing if they're not humane, because at the center of policies are people, and you have to represent the integrity of people and their human rights and the right to be who they are. And I think we can learn a lot from each other, and I wish you very well, and just thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't speak too fast. I'm sorry if you didn't understand.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.